it's nice and dry, cool to the touch. A couple areas I'm going to take my eradicator and I'm going to fix the edges. Now, in doing this, you want to be very, very gentle, because the more pressure you put down, the closer to the white of the paper you're going to be. And you don't, if you do that on your background by mistake or so close to your background, you're going to have a hard time trying to replace that correctly. So just to save yourself a headache, be very gentle, and just a nice soft back and forth. See how quickly that picked that right up movement, and this will be perfect. It doesn't pick up the background. All it's doing is picking up that line. It could have been my tracing line. It could be that I went over with my pink color on the outside. So it could be either or, but whatever it is, we don't want it there. Wipe your brush in between each time. And again, just a back and forth. All you're doing is loosening that paint with a wiggle of your brush. If you want to think about it that way, just a very gentle, soft movement. And then dab at it with your paper towel. There we go. Go up here. Very gently. See, now that one I probably took up just a little bit too much, so I'm going to just try to soften it in. Just have to be very gentle. It was just a little bit too hard there. But being our first wet on wet layer, we're still going to be able to, yeah, this one it seems to be picking up quite a bit. We're still going to be able to repair this, even if you do end up picking up too much. And you don't want a real moist paper towel, because that can pick up color too. So if you feel that that's getting too moist, move it around till you get a dry spot to use. And again, this is just something you're going to have to practice and try and see how it works for you. If it doesn't, you have to try something else. You could even use a smaller round brush, just the tip of it, and see how that works for you. Sometimes it's just getting that moisture on there without hardly any pressure whatsoever. And you don't want to flood it. You just want a damp brush, whichever brush you're using. Soften that edge in. Okay, that looks better to me. All right, now let's see. Why don't we, kind of combine all of this. In looking at this color compared to this color, I would prefer the lighter. So we'll see what we can do to lighten that up a tad. But this will kind of combine these petals that we've already done here by doing this major petal here. Start to look more like a rose. And sometimes that's just what you need in a painting. Boy, what am I doing here? This looks really disjointed. It doesn't look like a rose to me. Well, then you start getting some of these connected petals in there, and it starts to make sense in your mind. It's always a stage when you're doing a painting that it has an ugly stage. and you say to yourself, oh my gosh, what is going on here? This just looks horrible. Well, if you keep going, keep working at it, you'll get past that ugly stage. I promise. There was a couple when I first started in watercolors. I had started in oils, went to acrylics, and really had to struggle with acrylics because, and it dawned on me as I was doing it, once I got really good at acrylics, I was trying to be an oil painter but use acrylics paints. And I did. I got to the point where you couldn't tell if it was oils or acrylics, and it was really lovely. But I thought to myself, why am I fighting with this? Why don't I just go back to oils like I love? So that's kind of what I did. And then I found watercolors, and I thought, oh, I have to try it. I have to master this. I just absolutely love it. So it's kind of where I'm at now. Now this one doesn't have a lot of extra little detail, but it's a large enough area. I do want to put more water down the center. I'm looking at the side of my paper and it looks good. But I got a lot of moisture on there, so I'm going to let it set in a little bit. And while it's settling in, clean my mixing brush and make a larger area of our peach color. I can see what's going on here on my palette. My peach color is a little dry, so there, we just got a lot of moisture on it. And I'm just adding in a hint of the Quinacridone rose. Probably wouldn't hurt to put a little bit of the yellow in there either. Yeah, that's a pretty color. All right, so that should be enough for a while. Picking up my number 4 again. Loading my brush, rolling my brush to a point. And this is the darkest area up here, so I always try to lay my brush down to begin with in the darkest area. Even though this is the lightest value that we're using, it's going to deposit a lot of paint wherever you put your brush down first, so keep that in mind as well. Making sure I get right to the edge, hopefully not going over. Turn this around. Nice layer of this pinky peach color down here. Now all of these corner spots are a little different. This one comes up to here. There we go. Now we're going to go to our darker value. And most of that dark value is up in this area. sure I get right to that edge. This is going to be a really pretty little flower. Now, right about where that one ends and picks it up over here, not a ton, like I say, of the darker value in there. Really isn't any highlights either, per se. I think we could probably create one right there. Once it soaks in a little bit, which we're going to let it do. Trying to decide how I want to deal with this petal because I don't care for the color, but we'll let it go for now. All right, let's see if we can pick up some of this color. Make sure my brush is nice and dry. Oh yeah, it's coming up. We wanted to go right up next to the dark shade that we put in down here. Just going to watch it for a second so it doesn't flow back in, but it's actually coming up pretty well. Okay. Now we're going to create a petal. This one is the one that we did here. Let's go in and create this petal and also the continuation of the bowl. It'll be nice and dry there, so we'll start there. I do want to clean up this edge a little bit here. I'll use my eradicator. Coming right up. That's a good thing. Just work right down this edge. I get in the habit of holding my brush in my left hand, and then when I need to use my towel, my left hand is busy holding that brush. So. That's better. And you're better off doing this now while it's still moist. Than waiting for it to completely dry overnight or something. So keep that in mind as well. Yeah, I like that a lot better. I'm going to try something here. Oop. Dropped water on my background. We don't want that to soak in. I'm going to just get a dry paper towel here. Again, you can pick up too much paint if your paper towel is too moist. So. Okay, let me just see if I can lighten up that color just a tad. I think part of the problem is it's got so much more yellow in it than what we're doing today. But I do like the color we're using today more. Yeah, it's going to let me lighten it. I'm not going to worry about that corner because that corner should be darker too to begin with. This is good for you to see how to correct this if you wanted to. The other option you would have is to, on the second coat of these other petals, is to go darker if you like that darker value better. Always have that option. I prefer the lighter value, I guess. It's going to get darker, but it's not going to get quite this dark. This is more of a rusty, closer to an orange. It's just amazing what you can do to fix these things. Right. So that gives you a pretty good idea on how to pick up a color if you're not happy with it. Now the yellow, we will be adding more yellow into the rest of the petals, so that'll be just fine. And if you remember, I did pick up the center there to create that highlight that the petal was coming forward, and that'll stay. And at this point, with this as moist as it is from me picking it up, I would not add another color unless you dried it with a hairdryer or let it dry overnight. So you really want that to dry nice before you would add any more color in. There. I'm going to leave that, at least the darkest section is gone. Another piece of dry paper towel here. And when you put your paper towel down, you don't want to move it around like you do with your brush. You don't want to rough up your paper, basically, I guess is the best way to put it. If you do, end up with the paper pretty rough. You can buy one of these, which is just a smooth stone on a stick, or go to Walmart and buy a little smooth stone. And then when this is on there and your paper needs to be smoothed out, you can just smooth it out with this. Really works nice and handy. One more pass on this and then we'll call this section quits for the day. Gonna leave that be. And then the next time we get back together and we do some more painting, I'll put some of the pink over that and we should be pretty good, because the second pass on these petals will bring them pretty close to the same color. So when we get together, then we'll go ahead and we'll do this one and we'll continue this bowl. We want to get this section in first and then the bowl, outside petal bowl, I guess you could call it. And then we've just got a few more up front in our sepals and our stem, and we're getting there. So I'll see you soon.